Hello friends, what is up? Today's video is going to be about buybacks, which are not a very intuitive action for most people. It is a very scary thing to commit to. If that rings true for you, don't feel bad. Even pro players struggle with this. I'm pretty sure you can even see it in a true site where they were thinking about a game they lost and they were thinking like, I should have bought back sooner, or I shouldn't have bought back here. It is a difficult choice you have to make very quickly. So don't feel too bad if you ever mess it up. Like, it is tough. For new players, there's not really a tutorial for this game, so it's not a really well-explained mechanic. Like, why would I do this? And it feels weird. It's like, I'm going to spend my gold on it, but why not just wait and then save my money? Yeah, why not, right? That's one of the considerations. Even if you've played another MOBA, I think buying back is unique to Dota. I'm not fully sure on that, but I know at least in League of Legends, they don't have buyback. And so that's where a lot of people come from when they switch MOBAs. So for many people who are new to this game, it's a new mechanic and they don't know what to do with it. For older players, people who have been playing Dota for a while, it's still a difficult topic. And I think one of the issues in pub games is that buyback used to be worse. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it used to be more punishing to do. Nowadays, it's not so punishing, so there's more tactical value to use buyback in different situations. But I think many people have been slow to shift to that outside of the highest level of play. So I don't have every answer to buybacks, but we are going to at least talk about it and get you thinking about when might I experiment with it. Maybe I'll try it out, see how it affects my game. First, let's explain how it works. When you die, you're usually dead for some amount of time, like let's say 50 seconds. After that 50 seconds, you respawn, all's well. If you don't want to wait that 50 seconds for whatever reason, you can buy back. You spend a certain amount of money. We won't worry about the exact cost right now, but I'll show you where to check it later. But there's a cost to it, the buyback cost. If you choose to buy back, you spend your reliable gold first, and if you need to, and if you have it, your unreliable gold, you spend your money, you respawn immediately, and then you're good to go. There is a 8-minute cooldown on being able to buy back, so you can't just stockpile money and then buy back like 4 times. At least not at this time, but 8 minutes where the next time you die, you can't use buyback if it's within that 8-minute time period. Also, it adds 25 seconds to your death timer. So before, if you were going to respawn in 50 seconds, it now adds a flat 25 seconds to that. So now you wouldn't respawn for 75 seconds. Just on your next death. After that, it'll go back to what it should be. So like 50 if you die a third time without gaining a level. Ooh, that'd be rough. As of now, those are the penalties, the cost and risks of buyback. It has been changed over time, so in the future it could change again. In the past, so now we're going to explain why it used to be worse. In the past, the extra time added to your death timer used to just be half of whatever you had left. So if you had 50, okay, now 50 is a bad example. Let's go to 100 seconds. If you were dead for 100 seconds and you bought back, it would add 50 seconds to your next death timer. Now it will only add 25 still. You also used to be penalized for the amount of gold you could get. So anything that would give you gold was reduced. This meant that buying back and winning a team fight was not very cost effective for you. Or like buying back, defending, and then farming the next wave or two, like those waves would give you reduced gold, and so it just wasn't as good. It was difficult to get the money back that you spent on buying back, so you would typically only use it when you really had to. After they removed that, people began to explore like, when is it worth buying back? Because now it can actually farm up the gold. Like with the time I save from being dead, I mean, you don't just, okay, let's be clear. You don't just buy back to go back to farming. It's not good. At this time, it is not good. But you can buy back and participate in a team fight. And then maybe after that team fight, hopefully you've won, you go farm and you start to recoup the costs quickly. That's the reason why there's now like tactical value to buying back, because you can get the gold back as well as affect the team fight in like your team's favor. Whereas before, You could still affect the fight in your team's favor, but it just used to hurt you a lot to do so. And so that's why you didn't want to do it. So, some of you never use buyback. You just don't know when, and so you just like never use it. We're going to want to avoid that. And we're going to want to push you into this next category of people, which is only using buyback to defend either your ancient or your like barracks, which is I think a bit more common. This is one of the accepted uses of buyback, but there's a little bit of nuance there that we're going to cover later. But essentially, you don't want to lose your barracks. So you buy back. You're very close because your fountain is not that far from your barracks. So you can just walk out there and add to the fight to help defend your barracks. And it's okay that you spent your money because your team would have been significantly hurt by losing barracks, so it's kind of worth the doing. This is where a lot of people are, especially if you've been playing Dota for a while. This is like the only time people use buybacks, is like they're at our high ground, now is when I will use buybacks. The new cases of when you might use buybacks that have arisen over the last couple years and are like I see it in my games, but I think in lower games, like it's still not that common, is buying back to fight for Roshan, which seems weird because Roshan gives you an Aegis, which is essentially an extra life, but buyback is also kind of like an extra life. So for many people, it's weird. Like, why would I use my buyback? Like, why would I use my extra life to secure a different extra life? Like, why is that worth it? They are both technically extra lives, but there's a difference. One, Aegis has no cost. So if you give it to your carry, they could now safely spend all their gold to buy the next item that they were... Instead, they had to hold that money so that they would have money for buyback. Now they don't have to do that. So that can be very good. You could also use your buyback to secure the Aegis for a different teammate. So say your mid laner had bought back earlier, and now there's a Roche fight. You use your buyback to secure that Aegis for your mid laner. So now your mid laner has an extra life, and even though you used yours, like you're just a hard support, your mid laner was more important. There are some other more nuanced reasons to it that we don't have to fully get into. One of them we'll cover is that it's better because you respawn. Aegis, when you die, you respawn right there. That can be good or bad sometimes, but usually it's good. When you buy back, you respawn in Fountain. So imagine you're pushing the enemy's team, you're at their base, and you die with Aegis. You respawn right there. You can fight again. If you die and buy back and respawn in Fountain, unless you have bots and teleport to a creep, which could still not work out, like if they kill that creep, if instead you have to teleport to a tower and then run to the fight, this is a lot of time that you are wasting. So the ability to instantly respawn on that spot, full health, full mana, is usually why Aegis is worth spending buybacks for. It's a tough call to make, though, for sure. I don't expect a lot of you to like immediately know when it is worth it or when it's not. And honestly, it's difficult for me to explain that too. But as a hard support, a general rule is that you can do it because we're just not as important. And because our buyback cost is pretty low because it's based on your net worth, and like, man, we are poor. So like really, we don't lose that much gold for buying back. And 25 seconds on our death timers is not too bad because, again, because we're lower level, we don't usually have too long of a death timer. Yeah. The other reason is similar to Roshan, where a team fight is breaking out and you're dead or you got killed off early. You can choose to buy back and rejoin that team fight. Again, I would consider the teleport. Actually, I don't think I said it before, but when you buy back, if it's for Roshan or for like a team fight, make sure you can get there. When you're buying back to defend your base, it's within walking distance, so it's like, it's okay. But if your team is fighting out on the map, make sure you have a teleport. If it is on cooldown and you buy back and then you're like, guys, I gotta walk 40 seconds there, the fight is over, and it was probably not worth your buyback. You could have just waited to respawn and then have your teleport and teleport there, and it would have been the same amount of time. So make sure you have your teleport before buying back for either Roshan or a team fight. But in the sake of a team fight, again, because we are such poor peasants, our buyback doesn't cost a lot, and our respawn timer isn't affected that much. Like, buying back and being able to help win a fight can be overall good for our team. We will recoup the cost of our buyback from getting gold on assists or winning the fight and taking an objective. Maybe we get a bit of farm somewhere. It's not so bad. And that leads us to our point. When you want to buy back, wait, I forgot I had a slide for this. When you want to buy back, it's similar to the teleport scroll, right? Where we ask, what do I need to do right now? Because if you just wait, you will respawn after a bit. So what do I need to do right now that is so urgent to do right now, I am willing to spend money to respawn and accept some penalties with it? Defending Barracks, right? That's the most common one. That is a very understandable case. Like, I need to defend these right now. If we lose these, they will never respawn. Damage is unhealable unless you have like a Treant Protector. But in general, it's not healable. And so it's like, I need to be at this fight right now. Same with Roshan. It's like, my team is fighting Roshan. I know this objective is really important. Like, I want to be there right now. That's why you don't just buy back to farm. Because it's like, do you have a sense of urgency for that? Like, oh man, I need to collect gold, so I'm going to spend all my gold to collect gold. Like, that doesn't make sense. Anyone who just buys back to farm more is probably tilted. That's like not a good sign. But then the next question is, what can I contribute? So technically all of this applies to every role. So keep that in mind, but we'll consider it from the hard support perspective right now, in that think about what your spell cooldowns are and what your, if you have any significant item cooldowns, which is kind of unlikely for a hard support. But let's say you're Ancient Apparition and you ult and then you get killed. If you buy back, is it that worth it? Like, you're not going to have your ultimate yet, and your other spells are like okay in a team fight, but like not that impactful compared to your ultimate. So like, what will you contribute? Maybe you can still contribute something, in which case, yeah, like maybe you can still contribute something, or maybe the fight is so important that even though you can't contribute that much, it's still important for you to be there. But you do want to ask yourself that. And if you were Ancient Apparition and you died before ulting, yeah, it could be really worthwhile to buy back, because your ultimate is a huge part of your contribution to a fight, so it's like really important to get it off in some games. So in those cases, it can be very worth it to buy back. Another example is Silencer, whose ultimate is global, so it's even better, right? If he gets killed right away, he can buy back, and for sure he will contribute to the fight with his ultimate wherever he is when he respawns in Fountain, and then he can teleport in and then add a little bit more as well. But make sure you can change something. The biggest case is when I have, like for me, when I have a significant ultimate that can really affect a team fight. So like Disruptor ultimate against a very elusive team that has like blinks and stuff. Like, it's pretty important for me to be there with my ultimate, because otherwise my team will really struggle to get kills. In that case, if I die early and I have my abilities, I am very willing to buy back, get back in there and help. And then last, can I be at the fight in time? This is the whole teleport thing, where it's like, if you buy back but you spend 30 seconds to get to the fight might be done, and it's kind of like, what's the point? So make sure you can be there in time. I have made this mistake several times where you buy back and you're like, I don't have the teleport. You die a bit inside, but you just have to walk to the fight, and like maybe it'll still be going on. That happens. It happens, just remember it for the next time. So now we are just going to go into some examples and discuss like whether it was good or not to buy back, take a outside perspective look. I feel like this is the best we can do, because again, there are so many unique situations. It's very difficult to like definitively say like, this is when I buy back, this is when I don't. So I think just looking at examples of buybacks and seeing how they can be used to give you an idea of like, oh, like I hadn't thought about using my buyback that way. I think that's a great way to cover this, to at least get some ideas going on it. So yeah, let's go on. Before getting into examples, actually, I need to explain real quick reliable gold and buyback costs and all that. So if you hover over here, you have two options. So hovering over here will give you more information, but you can also hold Alt, and you can see right here, like you have enough for buyback plus however much extra you have. You can also see up here, this gold icon. this means that I have buyback. And I'll show you in a second what happens when you don't have buyback. So here you can see that I have reliable gold and unreliable gold. They very recently changed how you get both of these. So right now, the only source of reliable gold is from passive income. So 85 per minute, which can be increased with the Philosopher's Stone, I believe, if I remember correctly. And everything else is unreliable gold. This was a surprising change for me because for a long time, it was different, where the reliable gold came from objectives and kills and a couple other things. We're not going to worry about the balance of that, but just know that in the future, perhaps they will change your source of reliable and unreliable gold again. But regardless, let's move down to death cost. So you're going to lose 21 gold when you die. That is going to come from unreliable gold. You can never lose reliable gold from dying. This is why before you would try to spend your money because you spend unreliable gold first. So here I have 156 reliable gold slowly increasing. That is safe. It will never disappear unless I spend it. But this unreliable gold, for example, let's say I buy a salve. You see my unreliable gold has gone down. You spend your unreliable gold first, and that is also where it's going to come from when you die. And then your death time, that's just how long you're going to be dead. Buyback cost. So this is a function of your net worth. I wouldn't worry about the specific numbers. Just know that the later in the game you are, the richer you are, the more your buyback is going to be. This money is going to come from your reliable gold first. And if you don't have enough, it is going to go into your unreliable gold. And then the buyback cooldown shows like when you've used it or not. And so this 412 shows like how much you have available to spend that won't affect your buyback. Or won't affect your... Well, yeah, it won't affect your buyback. So it may dig into your reliable gold, or it may not, depending on how much your cost is. So for example, let's say I buy a chainmail, which would be 550 gold, which is more than the unreliable gold I have. So it's going to spend that and then go into reliable. So you see now, I don't have enough for buyback. And if you press Alt up here, you'll see that little gold icon is gone. And you'll see no buyback when you hold Alt, minus whatever. Give ourselves some money. Now we have tons. You'll also notice my buyback cost has gone up because I'm alive. Let's create a... Let's kill me in the slowest way possible. I think I could have used a command for that. So I use buyback, taking a look at our numbers here. It used my reliable gold first and then went into the unreliable gold after that to make up the rest of the cost. I now have a buyback cooldown, and if I press Alt, you'll see no buyback, and it shows a timer. I have the gold to buy back, but I just don't have enough. I don't have the time yet. If you want to communicate to your team, you can press Alt and click this, and it'll show like this. And if you let's put an item in.
Hate to be your mid tower right about now.
You can Alt click either your item, left click to show like I have enough gold for plate mail, but you can Control Alt click to show that I have enough gold for plate mail and buyback. And if you didn't, let's see, what would an example be? Someone commented that I should use dash teleport. Brilliant. I didn't know that was a command. Okay. Let's queue up another one. Alt click it. So I need that amount for the Divine Rapier. Control Alt click. I need 4,000 for Divine Rapier and buyback. So that can be a useful way to communicate with your team if you're not someone who likes to use mic. It can also help you to like know exactly how much you need. And you can also just like hover over stuff, I feel like. So I see like I have a surplus of 1,700, so that's how much money I could spend. So like what could I buy with that? I could buy like a javelin if I wanted to, and I know I'm safe. Like I will still have buyback. So understand how this works. You don't need to understand like how much like how your buyback cost is calculated. You just need to know how much you can spend before you lose buyback. And make sure you don't spend too much. Yeah. That's all I got to say on that. Let's go into the examples now. This first example is going to be about buying back for the high ground defense. This is actually a game sent to me from someone who's been watching the guide. In hindsight, that was sent in a private message, so I don't know if he wants his name revealed. So definitely credit to them for helping me out with this, because otherwise I don't know if I would have found an example. If you do want your name, let me know. I'm happy to credit you. But in case you want your privacy, I won't mention it right now. I should have asked. But anyways, let's see what happens here in this game. So the Dire is pushing in, right? They kind of have the advantage here. Let's zoom forward. This part doesn't matter. All we need to know is what's going to happen here. Pay attention to this Macropyre. This could be an issue later. Macropyre is a very good high defense. What am I saying? High ground defense skill, because you can place it and it just stays there, which means before the creep wave like gets too close, you can like stand here, Macropyre, and then back up to safety, and that entire creep wave will die, and you've bought your team 30 seconds. There's one creep wave here in that time. Hopefully that gets killed off. You can cast some spells maybe. Point is, what I'm saying, Macropyre is an excellent skill to defend, and so that makes Jakiro a good solo buyback hero, where he can buy back Macropyre, and that is contributing. Like if we go back to our questions here, right? What can I contribute? You can contribute this Macropyre to defend your base even on your own. But many supports like cannot do something just on their own, and so buying back by themselves is kind of pointless. So not having Macropyre could be an issue. I'm saying that as a hint because it is going to be an issue in a little bit. So Slark and Jakiro get killed here. Ideally, this guy would have gotten out. I mean, of course, he was trying to. If he had cast Ghost Walk, I have no idea if he has it, he would have gotten out on his own here, I believe. As soon as I died up here on Jakiro, I might consider buying back, especially if I had Macropyre, because of what we just said, where, okay, I know they're going to push. We have, like, these two dead. So if I Macropyre here, I can maybe defend. But the fact that Ursa is about to respawn and Invoker wasn't dead yet, you know, maybe I wouldn't have bought back, because Invoker is pretty good at defending high ground on his own. So, but now that he's being killed, this is the correct choice to buy back. It probably could have happened like a second or two sooner, but honestly, just knowing to buy back here is pretty good in my opinion, so I think that's fine. Slowly refining it to be slightly sooner. You probably wouldn't have saved the Invoker anyways. I don't even know if this guy was playing Jakiro, but the Jakiro probably wouldn't have saved Invoker. But yeah. But overall, I think this is a good buyback because you can contribute. Like, look how long range your skills are. You do have to be careful that, you know, we just saw he has an Bissel, like a Snapfire Cookie forward, or like a, well, he doesn't have Ag, so he can't initiate that way. But this Jakiro does have to be a little careful. But Jakiro can, like going back to our questions, why did I buy back? To try to save Invoker. That one didn't work out. Oh well. But to also defend high ground. And what can I contribute? I can contribute these spells, which are relatively safe and do help to defend high ground. I am stunning them, slowing their push. You know, can I make it to the fight in time? Yeah, it's your own base, like right here, you know? So the questions, all good. Playing safe, because if you die here, that would be an issue. Now, Ursa going in, now we have an issue. I don't know why Ursa went in. Overall, going on Sniper is a correct decision. You can't let Sniper just do damage in the back. But going when you only have 3 people alive is very risky. Extremely questionable. I think, at my level, I think if we saw Ursa do this, first off, we would have all been like, why did you just do that? But then we would know that Ursa is about to die right now. Like, there are 5 of them alive, and just Jakiro and Sand King cannot do enough to keep him alive and make this fight worthwhile. So I think Invoker would probably buy back right now. Maybe even Slark. And then that fight might be okay. Where, even though these guys are really ahead, like, he doesn't have Omni Slash yet. Oh, I don't know if you guys know that necessarily, because I wasn't paying attention. Like, maybe you guys were keeping track of the time or not. But fighting as 5 here on your own high ground is the best chance you have. Fighting on your high ground when you're down in numbers, means you probably will never win the fight. And so I think it's really important for Invoker and Slark to buy back right now, but they're not going to. Quite yet, I don't think. And so now, like, this guy's dead. And, like, this guy ulted in, but this is going to be an issue because now he doesn't have it. Like, even if he buys back, like, what can he contribute? Jakiro dies here. I don't think that's Jakiro's fault. Because Ursa went in like that, and Sand King went in as well, it's kind of like, I have to try. You know, if I don't do anything, they're just going to die and not be able to join later. So, like, Jakiro has to commit spells. And the issue is Invoker should have bought back sooner. Like, look at this buyback. Isn't this buyback too late now? If we look at these questions, what do I need to do right now? I need to defend high ground, yes. But you need your team to defend the high ground. So it's like, what can I contribute? I can contribute some spells, but now I have no other teammates contributing anything. So, like, Invoker alone cannot defend this high ground. And, like, can I be at the fight in time? Yeah, he can. For the high ground, like, defense part. But, like, for your team, they're dead. So you're not in time for that. So if we go back to this, it's like, look at Invoker. What can he do? What could he possibly do? He can throw out. He can throw out, like, Tornado, EMP, sure. But, look, they're not scared. They're just going to take these racks. Whereas if he had bought back as soon as Ursa goes in, or even before then it's a 4v5 at least, and it's like, it's not the best, but maybe you guys can delay until Slark is up, because Jakiro, Sand King, and Invoker are pretty good at defending high ground. Jug spinning. And now it's like, he waited until, like, Jakiro is dead. Now Jakiro doesn't have buyback, so now Jakiro definitely can't go in. Ursa doesn't have the money for buyback. So the fact that he just went in and died, like, that was very problematic. He can't be in this fight anymore for over 100 seconds. Now, what if these guys wanted to buy back? I mean, Slark's about to respawn, so it would feel really bad to buy back. Sometimes you have to do that, like, buy back with, like, a couple seconds left. I remember that happening at TI once, at least. But, like, what if Sand King bought back right now? The issue is two of them can't do anything. Like, so what if he buys back? Sand King plus Invoker. Sand King doesn't have his ult. Against 5 people anyways. You need to time your buybacks with your team. If you all, like, take turns buying back one at a time after everyone else is dead, it's like, we can't fight 2v3 or 2v5. We can't fight. We can barely fight 4v5, let alone if one person dies and now someone else has to buy back. But now it's still just a 4v5. Whereas if that other person had bought back sooner, it would be a 5v5, and that's, like, way better. Because of the way the staggered buybacks work, like, first it was just Jakiro, which I think was correct. But then I think, like, one of these two needed, if not both, needed to buy back. So he was like, we have the full force. We have the full 5-man right here. We know Techies has no mines up here. Like, Techies will not contribute that much to this fight. It'll be like a 5 versus 4, really. But the fact that they staggered, then they went, like, when they were at a disadvantage, that was just rough. And now they're going to lose, I believe. It's like, he buys back now because it's like, okay, if I don't buy back, we're going to lose. And it's like, that's true, but it's too late already. And, like, see, we'll have a, like, this is their best effort 3v5. Can you imagine if you also had the Ursa and the Jakiro? It becomes, like, much more feasible. So yeah. I mean, I do think Sand King has to buy back at this point, but I think it's, like, all in all too late. I think the buybacks need to happen from Slark and Invoker right up here. And of course, let's say you're the hard support, so you're a Jakiro. You can't control your team, obviously, but I do think it goes a long way for someone to tell your team, like, I think we need to buy back and defend this. You don't have to explain the whole, like, well, if we buy back in a staggered fashion and we just die one at a time, 3v5, like, we'll for sure lose. Like, that's too much because people will just get confused. But if you tell people, like, buy back right now, and then it's suddenly a 5-on-5, it's like, okay, now you can win a fight in a 5-on-5. I know you guys are, like, super behind this game. Or if you're, I don't know, maybe you're on the dire side. Radiant is super behind this game. So it's like, okay, even if it's a 5v5, you might still lose. but that is still your best chance at coming back. And this staggered buyback is not. So this is what usually happens in a lot of pub games, is people not buying back correctly, waiting until it's like, what am I trying to say here? Waiting until they feel like I am going to lose if I don't buy back, as opposed to thinking like a little more proactively of like, I need to buy back soon enough to, well, it's still about not losing really, but I guess they're misidentifying it. So like they're buying back now when it's like, oh, they're taking our racks. Now I will lose if I don't buy back. But actually losing was this earlier fight of like, I need to buy back while my team is still alive. When my team is dead, I will not do anything on my own. I cannot contribute enough. So I need to buy back now and fight when they're all alive. This is the mistake that happens a lot. This is from my own game, so I am the Chikira of this game. Let's play this out. First, we're going to see an example where I choose not to buy back. So here they are, pressuring our high ground. Our team was a little disorganized this game. I probably should have been here a bit sooner anyways. So our team is slowly funneling in. We're going to try to fight. We'll slow down a little bit. Actually, we'll speed up because I just want to die and show you why I'm not. This has been a very long fight. I'm about to die here. And I don't buy back. Why don't I buy back here? One, I used Macropyre. And I used most of my other spells. Of course, by the time I buy, like if I choose to buy back right now, like these are low cooldown spells, so I can use them again. But my big contribution, Macropyre, is down. So right now, all I do is like add a stun, which isn't bad, but if you watch the last video, this is actually the same game where I said we don't have damage. And so Macropyre was kind of important in terms of contributing damage. And so, okay, I contribute some stuns, but it's like, did you see how we like laid in? Our combo was pretty good. We had like Puck Ult, Macropyre, Ice Path, all of that, and they didn't die. And so now we're supposed to do that again, but without Macropyre. It's really tough. The other benefit, I don't know if you noticed, my Macropyre killed off the creep wave, which means they can't continue to push this yet until this creep wave gets here. And by the time they get here, I will be somewhat close to spawning. But Puck and Rubik, even Dragonite to an example, because he, to an extent, with his ult going and his breathe fire, they're all good at clearing the creep wave, even without me. So I feel like I don't have to buy back yet at this point. Plus, they all use their ults as well, or at least several of them, mainly Pango ult. And so I don't think they can force a fight quite yet. I think I have the time to respawn. So that's why I waited. Let's speed up. Because spoiler alert, we're going to get into another fight. Alright, so a fight comes out over here. For better or for worse. For worse, in my opinion. But we have another, like, sort of decent combo. We kill Ogre, so things are feeling like okay. I'm going to die here. And again, I thought, okay, do I need to buy back right now? Maybe not. Like, this guy's safe, this guy's safe. Rubik, I didn't realize didn't have buyback. But I was also kind of hoping, like, maybe he'll be okay. Like, he's so close to base. But this guy, like, they all committed in for it, so Rubik did die. And at that point, I chose to buy back, and I think maybe it was a little too late. Maybe if I bought back sooner, I could have helped. But now I feel like I need to buy back because, one, Rubik is dead. And so if we're both dead, it's a 3 versus 4, and they're definitely going to get this. Whereas with 4 of us versus 4 of them, maybe we can push them back. Like, they're probably going to get this tower, but maybe we can push them off of this Barracks. This is a really rough game. I'm so low level. But that's why I bought back this game. He doesn't have buyback. Like, see how even though I bought back, I'm like, I'm really not contributing that much. But I still kind of had to because the little I'm contributing is somewhat protecting these Barracks. Like, they still almost got half of them. And that was with me being here to contribute what I could. So if I hadn't bought back, I feel like we definitely would have lost these. So overall, I think that buyback was correct. I should have done it a little sooner before Rubik died. maybe I could have saved him. Or maybe I could have bought him a couple more seconds to get off another spell. I don't know. This game was just hard, though. But I do think buying back was the correct option. And I think at a lower level, many people would have just, like, waited and let this Barracks fall. But at least my buyback for now did save this Barracks for a little longer. Our next example is a demonstration of a aggressive early buyback. It's actually going to feature the mid laner. So this is the game we covered yesterday, where I was playing offlane Venomancer. Like we said, buyback applies to all roles, so I think this example will still be good. It shows how you can use this early and why it can be good. And I think that still applies to hard supports as well, even if we're looking at a mid laner advantage or a mid lane example. So right now in this lane, Ember Spirit is beating this Void Spirit a decent amount. He's not like absolutely destroying him, but you know, he is firmly in the lead. So let's see what happens here. A fight breaks out because Ricky was in the area. Slow down a bit. And I want to point out that they do get this Ricky kill. Let's take a look now. So he's now at about 8 3/4. This guy is 7, close to 8. So he's very much in the lead. Sees him trying to teleport. Gets the kill. 8 and a little bit. So what you're about to see is Ember is going to buy back for this kill. Is it worth it? Well, before we see that, let's imagine what would happen if he doesn't buy back. Phoenix will probably die. He has double damage going. His spells are down. So either A, Void Spirit will just leave, or he will go for this kill. If he leaves, he can Fairy and Regen and just farm the wave while Ember is dead. Or he could go back and heal and then teleport back to the lane. They'll both enter the lane at the same time. And this time, he is up. He is caught up. You know, Ember is like technically barely in the lead in terms of XP, but you know, considering the difference it was before, this kill is pretty big for Void Spirit in terms of equalizing the lane. But now, Ember Spirit buys back. Let's look at our questions. What do I need to do right now? I need to kill this Void Spirit who just killed me, and who I was beating in lane before, but now he is caught up because he killed me. But if I can kill him right now, I will regain the lead. I will maintain my lead, really. Secondly, my Phoenix is very close to dying, and I don't want Void Spirit to just get a double kill for free. So maybe if I buy back and join the fight, I can save Phoenix and or kill this Void Spirit. What can I contribute? I'm an Ember Spirit. I have all these spells and damage. You know, great stuff. Can I be in the fight in time? Ember, very unique hero that, because of Remnant, he can often buy back and rejoin the fight immediately. Usually there's a bit more lag time, right? Where you buy back and then 3 seconds to teleport to a lane and then however long it takes to run. This fight is quite close, so even a hero like Queen of Pain could have bought back, teleported here, and then maybe blinked back in. Other heroes can do something similar. Ember Spirit happens to be probably one of the best at just instantly rejoining a fight because of Remnant. So for Ember Spirit in particular, this is a very heads-up play, making use of this hero. We're going to see that he knows he's going to die, so he goes for the Phoenix kill. And right now, in fact, let's show this recap. So Ember Spirit is now 9 and, you know, a bit. Void Spirit, 8 and a bit. So this is about the XP difference that there was before this fight all began. So Ember Spirit, in terms of experience, has maintained his lead. In terms of gold, Ember Spirit broke even for that double kill. So he killed Ricky and Void Spirit, but then he bought back. He lost some money upon dying. So overall gained 13 gold. Not the worst in terms of maintaining his XP advantage. Like, he didn't gain any gold, but he's still in the lead of experience. And Void Spirit is dead for 30 seconds, which means if he can farm up gold in that time and maybe even more experience, he can now compound his lead while this guy is dead. So you're going to see him come to lane. Sniper's here, but he's not really going to be able to do anything about it. He doesn't farm that much in this case, so it's a little unfortunate. He is going to stack this camp. to set him up, and then he's going to be able to farm this wave again, and Void Spirit is still dead. So right now, let's wait for Void Spirit to get back into lane. So where is he now? He's 9 and a little bit. He's farmed up a bit more gold. Void Spirit still behind. Still, like, he did get more gold from that fight overall, but I don't know. I hope this shows how Ember Spirit used Buyback to maintain his advantage in terms of levels and lane control. You know, set himself up to get some farm from like this hard camp, which will also give him experience. This all helps him to get more gold and experience to maintain the lead. Before that fight, Ember Spirit was in the lead. If Ember Spirit had not bought back, Void Spirit would have taken the lead. By buying back, he maintains his lead and, like, honestly did not lose that much. And because it's the early game, he did not have to spend that much money on buyback, and he did not, like, if he dies again in the next 8 minutes and he doesn't have buyback, it's probably not that big of a deal, right? Like, who cares if he doesn't have buyback? We'll lose a tier 1 tower maybe, but it's like, okay, whatever. Tier 2, sure, whatever. Like, we're not going to have to defend high ground or Roshan for, like, at least 10 to 20 more minutes. So the fact that he doesn't have buyback for 8 minutes, there is a significantly reduced risk when you use buyback in the early game. Because you're not likely to lose the game for not having buyback at 9 minutes. And then again, because it's so early, the buyback cost is not too much, and it's somewhat easy to make up that cost by farming a creep wave or two, a stacked camp, maybe getting the kill. So yeah. We actually have 2 examples in this game, which I didn't realize. This was an older game, and you can tell because there's a bit of a bug. Everyone's floating around. I think we looked at this game in the one of the mechanics videos. I had that sick juke around here that I was showing with the centaur stomp. Oh, it's these centaurs, I think. But anyways, let's take a look. I'm sniper. I was actually position 4. These guys were going on me like every fight. So at first, I'm not buying back. Why? Maybe the fight just disengages at this point. Slark has died. I have died. Overall, I would say my team is in the lead. And now it looks like they're kind of going on this guy. I can't remember if I knew whether they had Ravage or not. This game was like a month or 2 ago. But it's at this point where I see 3 of them like all here, and they're like Marana ulted. It seems like they still want to fight. And I know Slark is dead. So in this 4, like the 4 alive versus the 4 that were alive, it could go either way, especially if this guy gets a good Ravage and a roar off, or even just a roar. I feel like they could kill someone and then win a 4v3. But if I buy back, I felt like, okay, if they're committing to over here, I'm close enough to join the fight, and we can win the fight with 5-on-4. I don't think Slark is going to buy back. At this point of the game, like, this is when supports can buy back to join fights quite easily, but cores generally don't want to do it unless they're super tilted. And I felt like if we win a clean fight here, we can get a tower, maybe even 2, or like both tier 1 towers or something. Or we could even go to Roshan. So I felt like buying back was worth it. In the end, I think they disengage. Possibly because I bought back. Like, I have no way to read their minds or what they were communicating. If I was them, I feel like I would have continued a 4-on-4 fight, but I would not continue a 4-on-5 fight. And so usually when someone buys back, they feel like, okay, let's just get out. Like, he bought back. It's fine if we just leave now, which is true. And so we definitely want to get a kill. Whether they get this kill, like, without me, they probably would have. I was able to provide some damage in a slow. Not as much as I wanted to get out of this, right? Just a Beastmaster kill that they might have gotten on their own. But who knows how it would have gone if I hadn't bought back. Like, maybe they would have continued the fight. Maybe they would have had Ravage. Or, like, that was what I was worried about, because it looked like they were all about to get Ravaged, and that's why I bought back. Overall, it's like not the clean victory I wanted, but like our team is now going to get the mid tower, and we did get that Beastmaster kill. My buyback, it was a bit expensive, but I was at about 700 gold when I bought back, and now I'm at like 466. When we get this tower, it's like I kind of made up all the money I I spent, you know? And we're now getting objective map control, which is naturally just good for the team. If this guy potentially dies, that could be an issue. I don't think we get anything here. Almost did. Oh, maybe we'll get her. Bissel? He's gonna die, I think. Maybe we'll get this. Oh, Mirana buys back. Same deal, right? Where if she doesn't buy back, it is a 4 on 3. Admittedly, he's about to respawn soon. But this guy's kind of low. This guy's low on mana. She's kind of close to dying, but like he can output a good amount of damage. We have a Monkey King here. I don't, they don't necessarily know I don't have any shrapnel, but I think this was looking okay for us. Keeping in mind that this is off my buyback earlier that allowed us to push up all the way over here. Now thinking from Mirana's perspective as a support, her buyback cost about the same as mine actually. Funny enough, also going for a very similar build, even though I think that's bad for her. But she wants to buy back and contribute to this fight because we are on their side of the map, which means she can get to the fight very quickly. And she has stuff to contribute. She doesn't have her ult, but honestly, her ult doesn't... Like in a fight like this, her ult wouldn't do that much. Really, she's looking to land like a very nice arrow, maybe a Star Storm on someone. And to turn this fight for her team. Because right now, it could go either way. Like, because it's 4 of us here against 3 of them, if we kill someone before Beastmaster can get here, then it's still a 4 on 3. But by buying back and TPing in, maybe she can turn this fight. And now when Beastmaster joins in, it'll be a 5 on 4. And we can't really stick around and fight much longer. Are they even going to kill? I think they're going to kill Monkey King. Oh, no, he's going to get away. Okay. They almost got him. I hope that showed some good examples of buybacks. We're going to skip forward now to a Roshan fight that I caught a lot of flack for. I don't know if I already talked about this, but I do believe this was the right call. So this is about 40 minutes into the game now. And it's somewhat close. We're behind 4K, but like that's not that big of a deal. It really comes down to who starts a fight, who gets a good initiation. And because Roshan, this is the second Roshan. Let's look at buybacks. We have 2 of ours, 1 on theirs. So this Roshan is kind of a big deal. Like both teams can get it decently quickly. So it would really help whichever team, like whoever gets this will be in a very good spot because this game is still quite close overall. That is how I feel going into this fight. I feel like this is a very important Roshan. Should I explain that more? That's actually the next video. The next video is Roshan. I think we'll leave it. We'll leave the explanation for then. But for now, just know that I felt this was a very important Roshan to get. And so I think it's worth buying back for this. I'm over here, chilling away. I should have had a sentry here. Or who's my 5? Dark Willow maybe should have had a sentry back here. But maybe that was just my bad positioning. So you see I get killed off very quickly. And then I decide I'm buying back. This is an important fight to me. And I think my buyback is worth using. Almost get to ult this guy. But I think we get the kill. No, he might get away. Void is like off on his own. He's gonna die. Like I think this could have gone much better if Void had like run this way instead of the way he went. And unfortunately, this guy just got off his Dark Pact and then BKB, so I wasn't able to ult him. If I had ulted him, like we definitely would have gotten that kill here, and that would be really good for us. Right now, in my opinion, I do think like Void should buy back to join this fight. Like he has teleport. Yeah, it's a long teleport to get here, but look at the heroes in this game. Like we're all gonna fight for a long time. We have a Bristle, a Monkey King. You have like Slark, Tidehunter, Ember. These are all heroes that they're not necessarily like burst heroes. Like they go over a long period of fighting. So I think it would have been worth it to buy back, especially because Slark has used his BKB. This guy now is BKBing to kill me. We do kill the Mirana. Ravage is now down. So it's like, what control is there left to stop him? There's really not much. 2 BKBs are down. All the big Spells are down as well. All there is left is like a root from him, a leash from him. Ravage is gone. Roar is gone. Mirana's dead. So I think this would have been a good time to buy back. I am dead though. And like it was so obvious to me that like if you had buyback, you would buy back and join this fight. That first I was just watching this fight going on. And then like this is how close it was. Where even though it's a 4-on-2, like it's very close. They could win, but they could also die. And like I was watching, and then I suddenly realized that they both had buyback, and I said like, I think you guys need to buy back to help them. So they buy back now. This is quite late. Like, didn't you see how long this fight was? If we go back 10 seconds, we can even go back further. If they both bought back right now and TP'd in, it would take about 7 to 8 seconds for them to finish teleporting. They both have teleports. They could both teleport in here. She has Bedlam, doesn't have Terrorize, but all these spells will be up. He has all his stuff. Her items are down, but she can provide like vision on these invis heroes for like Slark, Shadowblade, and stuff. And the fact that she'll just have like spells like this will really help to control these heroes, because these guys do not have good control on their own against very versatile heroes like Slark and Ember. So these two guys can add a lot to this fight, and like look how long this goes on. That was like 4:35 when we started, 40:35. Like, if they had bought back and teleported, they'd be arriving right now. Instead, so this is when I say, like, you guys should buy back and join. So now they come in, but now Monkey King is dead. This is where I got flamed hard. Monkey King was extremely upset with this call. He thought it was super useless to buy back, I guess. I couldn't fully understand him. All I knew is he was mad. But usually I just ignore that stuff, but I retaliated that time, for better or for worse. But I was like, I think this is a fight worth taking, and I can say that, and it's still up to these guys. Like, they can still make the choice or not. Like, if I was totally wrong and like this was an awful idea, they would not have bought back. But I think by buying back, it was a mix of two things. Honestly, when someone gives directions in a game as high level as this, like oftentimes people will just go with it, whoever's talking. And I always talk in a lot of my games. So me saying buyback, maybe they just like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. But I think at some point, like maybe they aren't sure, like, oh, should I buy back or not? And me vocally saying like, I do think this is a good buyback. They go like, you know what? I wasn't totally sure, but if he also thinks it's a good idea, okay, let's do it. I think it should have been like 10 seconds ago. But to me, it was so obvious that like if you had buyback, you would use it in this fight. And then I looked up and I was like, they're both just sitting on buyback. Like, look at our two guys. They're fighting like 2-on-4. Like, look how close this fight is. These two guys can like make a huge difference. Even one of them can make a big difference. And so if they had bought back sooner, Monkey King would still be alive. And I think we win this fight very cleanly. But instead, Monkey King is just like flaming me here, saying it was like a really bad idea. We win this game, and then at the end I was like, do I get an apology? Because that was the right call. This is totally the right call to buy back, I think. It should have just been sooner. I don't know if I would have chased this far. This is a little scary to me, but it's going to work out somehow. I don't really know how, but I was glad it did, because I thought they were throwing coming up here, but then they killed an Ember, and I was like, oh, okay. Turns out it was the right call to buy back. But right now, I think they should just go do Roche. These guys are dead. And I do think if that they saw us go into here to do Roche, I think it would be worth it for one of these two guys to buy back. Maybe Ember Spirit. I think Ember Spirit could delay this on his own, because he's just such a versatile hero. And that Tide can also be around here. But Tide and Beastmaster alone cannot contest this. And I think... well, it's close, but I think by the time Mirana spawns naturally, Mirana, Bristlebat can kill this with their help. And that I would TP in and respawn, like before she does too. Let's actually see if they do it. They're kind of wasting time. I don't know if they can do it now. They're going to try. He does have... wait, I thought he had a medallion. Oh, I guess not. Are we going to do this? Let's see. See how they could buy back and stop this, though, if they wanted to? This is the higher level play, where we used buybacks, and that's where it can feel bad. But then you win the fight, and you take Roshan, and then they either have to buy back themselves, in which case we're now all even, we've all used buybacks, or they let us get Roshan, which is Aegis, cheese, and then some golden experience. As well as our cooldowns, our buyback cooldowns are already going, right? So we all use our buybacks, 8-minute cooldown. Mine, I use mine first. I have 6 minutes left. Whereas if they buy back now, we're even, except that our cooldowns are sooner. Like we used our buybacks and got kills, and now they bought back, and we would just disengage, and they would not get kills. They would have just had to use their buybacks. And so now we'll have this window where, because we used ours first, ours will come off cooldown first. And so we have this window where we aren't scared for like 2 minutes, but they have to be, because if they die while they don't have buyback, like we can force objectives really quickly. I think we are going to get this Roshan, because these 3 guys cannot contest this on their own. But like we wouldn't... Is he going to get it? Scary. He just died on his own. You know? Is that good? Not really. What if Ember had bought back? If Ember buys back, it's the 4 of them contesting us. We would not have been able to do this so quickly. With Ember sleight of fisting us, chainsing us, and then he has a remnant back here to get away safely. You know, we can't do this. And then Slark would be respawning. Like, don't you think if Ember bought back, he could have delayed this by 10 seconds? And that would give Slark enough time to respawn and TP in. And now it's a direct 5-on-5. In which case, that favors them. They have much better direct team fight abilities with Ravage and Roar, Invis to set something up, a lucky arrow. And, like, I get killed every single fight, and I don't have buyback to come this time. And once I'm killed off immediately by Ember, it's a 5v4, you know? But instead, we get the... we left cheese in there. Like, we're going to kill all these guys. All of this is a direct result. I hope someone gets cheese. I can't remember. But all of this is a direct result of me calling for buybacks here, which isn't to just, like, brag about my own right calls. But this is to... I want to show the long-term importance of buybacks, where you can see us buying back here and, like, us sort of winning that fight, and you might think, like, that's just it. But everything in Dota, like, combos on itself, where, like, it starts this chain of events. And, like, that chain of events was us buying back. Like, it should have even been sooner, but, like, us buying back, chasing them here, killing them, getting Roshan ourselves, and then they felt desperate to slow us down, so they came in and died as well. And now our 3 buybacks are, like, totally worth it, right? We got Aegis, so he who used his buyback now has Aegis, so he's... Was this always there? Aegis. That's funny. I had no idea that was a thing. Did tell me how to pronounce cheese? Nope. But we also have cheese, even though we left it behind. Beastmaster died. These guys died. So they have buybacks. That's true. And we don't. But we're in a stronger position. Like, if we keep getting solo kills, like we were even chasing Mirana a little bit here, I think. Or maybe she's just going to cut waves. But we can now take more objectives. We can, like, win fights while these guys are dead and waiting to respawn, and they don't want to just buy back for normal fights, but that gives us a window to pick off other people and then force them to buy back. And once they have to buy back, we just leave, and then we'll have Aegis, and they won't have buybacks. Like, none of us will have buybacks, but we'll have Aegis. In this case, they aren't buying back, so we're pressuring a little bit. But look here, we're getting a solo kill. And so now what? Now he's going to buy back? If he doesn't buy back, it's a 5-on-4. I don't think we should chase. Let's see if this goes badly. So this is a good buyback from Ember. We're just, like, watching this whole game. I didn't plan out to do all these, but, I mean, people just keep buying back, so it's working out. Why does he need to buy back? Where's our question sheet? What do I need to do right now? I need to defend our... Like, he needs to defend our Barracks, his Barracks. What can he contribute? He's got all his stuff. He has, you know, his BKB up. He's got all of his spells for the most part. I mean, it'll be up really soon. The aura from Spirit Vessel is important. Like, the damage he's got. He can contribute a lot. And, what was our last question? Oh, can I be in the fight in time? Yeah, he's an Ember Spirit. He's got Ags on his Remnants. It's in his own base. It's very worthwhile for him to come in. So now, what do we have? We have their mid laner, who's a huge issue in this game, who has no buyback. We have no buybacks on anyone except Bristleback, except we do have Aegis. Have we picked up cheese? Still have not picked up cheese. Monkey King has like buyback. It's not on cooldown, but he doesn't have the money for it, which I think is a bit of a mistake. I think he should have it, considering how close this game is. And let's see. Is he going to get anything for his buyback? Not really. Which feels bad. It looks like they're looking for a bit, but we're just getting out. So he used his buyback and didn't get anything. Like he saved his barracks. Like let's be honest about that. He did save this because otherwise we would have forced the issue. But he didn't get anything for his he didn't get a kill. He's getting to farm a little bit now, but he would have liked to get a kill or something. But instead, all 5 of us are alive, and he's not. And he has to be scared because if he dies the same way over here, which was... I can't even remember how it started, but it started with me ulting him, I think, and then hexing him with Prince's Knife, followed up by like a series of chain stuns, like Bissel, like Boundless. He has to be very scared of split pushing because if he dies now, he's dead for like 125 seconds, and he cannot rejoin the fight. This puts a very big target on Ember Spirit, and you should know this. Whenever you buy back, it does put a target on your head, at least if you're a high enough level, where at the low levels, like, people don't pay attention enough to it. But like Ember right now to us is a very high priority. And it would be really good for us to smoke, for example, walk up to like a side lane, wait for him to show up, and then I ult him. Hopefully he doesn't react in time. This is a high tier, so maybe he will, and he'll get away. But it's kind of worth going for it. Maybe we should Boundless strike first. That's harder to dodge. But if we commit a lot of spells to kill Ember Spirit, it's totally worth it because he can't buy back, and it becomes a 5v4 for 2 minutes. And in that time, we can definitely take a Rax. And if we take 2 racks in a game like this, then all we have to do is like only play bottom, and top and mid will always be in our favor. If they're on their own, like they have to commit heroes to push it back. And as soon as those heroes leave, the lanes will push back in our favor. Like that's the power of Barracks. And so now we only have to play in the bottom lane. Anyone who comes here is like dead. If like imagine if 5 of us can be in the bottom lane. This isn't really related to buybacks, I guess, but we're going to finish the thought. If 5 of us can play in bottom lane, then they need to bring all 5 in order to have a 5-on-5. Anything less than that is to our advantage. 5-on-4, 5-on-3, anything like that, like, isn't that obvious? Like, we have more people, and we have the lockdown to get kills. So, if they don't want that to happen, they would have to commit 5 heroes down here, 5-on-5. And because our lanes are... We have the Barracks, like, let's imagine we have this Barracks. Like, the lanes will always push in our favor, which means it'll slowly chip this down. Which means eventually someone has to come over and deal with this. Either one person is dealing with it in their fountain, like here, or they're sending 2 people, like pushing the lane out mid, pushing the lane out top. Which brings us back to being 5v3 down here, which means we can take this and quickly force our way to their tower. As soon as those 2 people like rotate back, so it's a 5-on-5 again, we can just back off a little bit, and then the lanes will push in again, and we just repeat that. Or we could even ditch this 5v3 if we wanted to and go get a solo pickoff on whoever's trying to push out the lane. That is the importance of buying back to defend Barracks, like to avoid that situation, what I just described. But it's also the importance of, like from our side, buying back to guarantee that. Buying back to guarantee Roshan so that we can force this and take this so that like what I just described can happen. That's how far ahead I'm thinking of with these buybacks. I mean, not necessarily like when I'm buying back here, I'm thinking like, I'll buy back so in like 20 minutes we can all stay bottom and whatever. But I'm thinking this will establish an advantage, which lets us establish another advantage, which gets us to this point where we are only in bottom lane and we will ultimately win. This game ended up being very close. I think we did win, though. Yeah, we did. That's all I have to say for buybacks now, I think. I should wrap everything we talked about first, actually, into like a completed point. So, keeping everything in mind we just talked about, when do you need to start saving for buyback as a hard support? As a rule of thumb, you should start saving for buyback when your tier 3s could be at risk. This will vary in the game. If you needed a time, I would say by 30 minutes, high ground becomes possible for most teams. So at least by 30 minutes, I would start saving buybacks. But it really does vary, doesn't it? Like if the enemy team had a Beastmaster and a Leshrac, they shred through towers, right? So in those kind of games, you might need it as soon as like 15 to 20 minutes. So use your best judgment. Sometimes if your team has really good deep push and the enemy team has really bad tower taking, like you could be down to your tier 3s and still be okay. Like your team will just push out the wave and the enemy team just won't do that much damage, and it's like I don't really need buyback yet. But at other times it's like my tier 2 is up, but I think that takes them 5 seconds to kill and then 10 seconds for my high ground. I really need to have buyback because I cannot allow them to have 30 free seconds to hit towers. That's when you have to have buyback. And as a hard support, our cost is fairly cheap, so there's no real reason to never not have it once we reach a point where we need it. In terms of buying items, never lose buyback for buying just like a component. But in terms of completing an item, so like debating between finishing up your 4-staff and having buyback, it'll depend on the game. It'll be up to you whether you think that item is so important that you're willing to lose buyback for it. It's hard for me to say more than that. In general, for me, I tend to value having buyback more than completing an item, but I feel like I could see some games where it's like, wow, if I have this item, I'm not going to die, you know? Or like my carry's life who doesn't have buyback is far more important, and like if I buy back, it won't matter. So let me buy this Glimmer instead and try to save him. It kind of comes down to like, what can I contribute and is it enough to make a difference? If having a second life allows me to contribute more, then okay, I need it. And if like buying back would do nothing, then it's like, all right, maybe this Glimmer is more valuable to help my teammate. It'll come down to you. Take your best guess. Maybe we can go into it more in the future. For now, I think that's probably enough. And I think that's it. I think that's all we have to say about buybacks for now. So, thank you for watching. I don't know why I'm talking so slowly. I was finishing my thoughts. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful. Go out. Be good people who occasionally buy back early to make aggressive plays. And if it works out, let me know. And if it doesn't, totally not my fault. You made the wrong call for sure.